You know, and the legs, and you're going. Rory to me is the, you know, the blue cream off at the Royal Albert Hall on that on Cream's farewell gig. That is well known fact, and for me that Rory's band was the start of the power trio, and look where that led. Yeah, bands like ZZ Top and all that. If it had, they're all, believe you me, they're all quite good historians when it comes to music and the birth of rock music, and they're all very aware of Rory Gallagher. I'd never been anywhere in the world that didn't know about him and didn't know about what he did. So Rory really blazed a trail, even for the likes of Lizzie. I don't think Lizzie would have got the as quickly as they did get if it hadn't been for Rory and laying the way, because people became aware of Rory and what he was doing in Europe, and of course you had Gary Moore then up in Belfast, and of course Gary was just a totally outrageous talent. But, you know, just the things that Gary was doing, they still can't do today or never will. He's just a one-off, just a total one-off. And I got very much turned on to Gary. It was a friend just told me, because you like Thin Lizzy, but then you like you like Gary Moore. And many years later we got to tour with Gary. We did the Wild Frontiers tour with them throughout Europe, and you know, that was phenomenal. Sadly they're all gone now. You know, I couldn't believe it to this day. You know, far too young. All of them were taken far too young. Henry's gone. And the great Johnny Fean now has sadly passed, which is a tremendous loss to Irish music. And of course Gary's gone as well, and Rory. So, you know, there's none of my heroes left today. I'm still the only one left now, I suppose, of that generation. I know there's new guitar players, or fine guitar players coming through, awesome players, but I'm the last of a sort of a generation of those. You know, I know there were a generation before me, but they were the ones who paved the way for everybody else, you know, and you wouldn't have the music scene in Ireland today that you have if it hadn't been for those guys in particular, you know. So they, you know, to be playing at Woodstock, and, you know, to be playing at Wembley Arena like Lizzie did, you know, they were the first to do it, the first Irish bands to do it. You know, the horse of support, what did I know, but I'd like to be there for that gig, you know, to see those two bands play. And then of course I said you had bands like the Undertones who and Stiff Little Fingers, of course, who absolutely nailed it as well. They must not be forgotten in all of this as well. They had tremendous success as well, and were very influential in the punk movement. And you know what I loved about them was they stuck to their roots. They really were, you know, and they were very conscious of what was happening in Northern Ireland at the time, and the lyrics reflected that. And I tried to maybe take a little leaf out of that book with a song called the Belfast City Blues. They had an alternative Ulster, and I thought, I'll try and write a song, but it was more bluesy based, and more of that. It was less of a punk thing. But you know, they were also very, very inspirational as well. We mustn't forget them, and in the way that Irish rock music moved, in the career of all the bands that we had. They were also a big part of that, the innovations that they made as well, you know, and they were as good as any punk rock band, if not better than most of them in England, to be honest with you, you know. So in my estimation they were, you know. And then you had the Undertones, who had that slick pop thing to them, even though it was still punkish. Very clever guys, you know, to be fit to bring all of that along. And we know their history, it's well documented, you know, but fantastic bands, and for such a small island in such a short space of time, to bring out so many and have so many world famous acts, it was an incredible achievement. And I guess, you know, Ireland, as regards rock music in general, was in its infancy, and was learning the ropes as well. But without those bands, they're the ones, they're the true geniuses with the likes of Brush and Skid Row. We mustn't forget Skid Row, amazing. Well, we know Gary was in that. I was very lucky to, as I said, to be part of Gary's tour and seen him play it firsthand every night. You know, we were down the tools and watch him play, you know. And he was very gracious, you know. He told me where he got his influences from. And I was very surprised when he said, because I just didn't know that much. I knew of Gary as a player, but to hear his side of where he got it from was, you know, and again, it stemmed back to that show band era. His father was a show band. He put on show bands in Belfast, and that's where Gary got the love of the music. He told me that, you know. So he says I learned a few songs, and the dad would allow him to get up, whatever, if it was Big Tom or, you know, Brendan Boyer in the Big Eight, he'd let Gary get up and sing, like they'd have a wee break and Gary would get up and sing a wee couple of songs. And Gary told me that himself, you know, and he says that gave me the love of the music, and he says to get up there and play it. And then, you know, he got introduced to Fleetwood Mac and the Peter Green albums, and he became a lifelong fan of Peter Green and Jeff Beck, of course. But you know, we all have to start somewhere, and you know, the greatness of Gary Moore, who could match, in my estimation, humble opinion, was the greatest rock guitar player the world had ever seen. You know, yes, today they may be technically more gifted, but I defy anybody to play with the speed and the soul and the heart that Gary had. None of them have it. He had everything. You know, if you want your jazz rock, if you want your fusion music, you do that at the drop of a hat. He just had it all. You know, so it was a great, and that was Ireland, coming from Ireland collectively, and what a bunch of talented people to come out there and make their mark in the world. So, you know, it's high time we paid some respect to them. I still remember that tune, and I was 5 when I learned that.